Yeah. Welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Thank you guys again for listening. We are here taping this a little bit earlier in the week. We are taping this on Friday, the week before you hear this. So if anything crazy happens after the fact, blame Lane because this is his recording schedule. But we have the man who will never cheat on you. Lane Riordan is here to talk all things baseball. Lane, how are you doing?
I've been better, but I'm really happy to be talking baseball. It's been an exciting first couple of weeks, especially for me. My beautiful North Side boys are doing fantastically up in Wrigleyville, and it's been a joy to watch. 15 games as of now, 15 games home win streak in Wrigley. So I'm feeling good. And other teams are important as well, but mostly feeling good about that.
Nah, it's always good, man, because my team sucks. But before we get into all that, really quick, just wanted to, not really quickly, but I wanted to just discuss a story that was kind of happening in the World Baseball Classic, but it's kind of almost became like the worst case scenario. And that's Tarik Skubal. For those of you who don't know, Tarik Skubal has loose bones in his elbow, same injury that Edwin Diaz is currently dealing with on the Los Angeles Dodgers. He got hurt back on May 4th. He had elbow surgery, I believe last week, and he's expected to be sidelined for 2 to 3 months, which he should be able to come back, right? But the question I have for Lane and going forward is just, do you think he should come back? The reason why we're asking, for those who don't know, Tarik Skubal is going to be a free agent. He was like projected to potentially get like $500 million in free agency, but we'll get to that part in a bit as well. But yeah, I'm just curious, like, do you think the Tigers should bring him back? Mind you, they're only, and it's super early, they're only a game and a half back. Everyone's still in it. No one's out of it. But to be fair, they are 2 games under 500 and they are 1.5 games back of the Guardians at the time that we are recording this.
It really depends on which way you want to look at it. If you want to look at it from the Tigers' point of view, then they 100% should bring him back as soon as he's ready. This AL year is already weird as fuck. There's 2 teams over 500, I think, at the time of recording. There's a ton of room to make a run. Obviously, we're early. These teams are going to fluctuate wildly from now until the postseason. But it's clear that in the AL, there's a lot of space to maneuver. From the Tigers' perspective, I think that they need to bring him back as soon as he's healthy to pitch because of that AL Central basically just feeling like a complete like shit show. Honestly, you could tell me any team is going to win that division right now. I bet if you looked
like
at the odds,
every year.
Yeah, it could be flat.
Yeah,
literally, I know it's
get
crazy.
To the postseason, lose to the Yankees. That's just the destiny of anyone who plays in the AL Central.
Literally, yeah. Like you could even tell me the fucking Twins are gonna win that division. It would be like, I guess so. I mean, they
were over 500 Are they over 500 right now? They are 6 games under, but they're only 3.5 games back. They're over 500 for a while.
Yeah. So from the Tigers' perspective, it's an absolute must because of the situation that the Tigers find themselves in a really weakened AL this year. From Scoobal's perspective, it's a lot more interesting to me. If I'm Scoobal, do I want to just like sit out for my payday? Do I want to be as healthy as possible going into off season? I don't know. Scoobal seems like a pretty insane competitor to me. He seems to have that sort of like psycho mentality that some starting pitchers have. But $500 million could make you think differently.
Not just $500 million, $500 million from Scott Boras, because that's always the thing. Like if Scott Boras is your agent, ultimately money is on your mind. Now, obviously, this is professional sports. Everyone wants to get paid, but Scott Boras is notorious for doing everything he can to get his clients paid. I mean, that is part of the reason why Scoobal did not pitch in like the rest of the World Baseball Classic. He had a payday, which I think a lot of people understood. This kind of gets, I think, into a little bit of my point, though, of with Scoobal and his market, because he currently, like you said, he's projected, or it looks like he's about to get $500 million, the largest contract for any player, any pitcher. But where is he going exactly? If you look at the Yankees, they already have 2 pitchers that they're paying top dollar to, in Fried and Cole. The Mets, we'll see, but if David Stearns is still their GM, he has made it very clear that he doesn't want to pay starting pitchers. Okay, so you now have the 2 top teams that are out of it. If the Dodgers win a 3rd World Series, are they really going to give $500 million to Tarik Skubal? maybe that's it. But then after all that, you're now going to like these second tier, quote unquote, teams who have the money with the Red Sox, with the Phillies. We don't even know what the Padres payroll is going to be. They were just sold, the Cubs. And I think the thing that's hovering over all of this is the salary cap that may or may not come into play. So I am curious to see, as even though we think Scooble's going to get this money and he's going to get paid, I don't know if he's getting the money that I think a lot of people thought he was going to get in the beginning of the year. And so that goes back to my other point. If you're the Tigers and you're like, listen, we actually might be able to bring this guy back on maybe what Cole got, 350, right? Now, I don't know if the Tigers want to spend that much money. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, right? But that's going to be a significant part of this, especially if they are really out of it come, I mean, he's probably going to come back, what, best case August at this point. Like, they're going to have to really not make up ground, but they're going to really have to put the screws to it if they're at this point. And we don't know what's going to happen with, like we just said, the AL Central division. So yeah, to me, like, is that any part of your calculus of like the salary cap and everything of like, where exactly is he going to go?
Totally. I think landing spots is a really important thing to look at here. And the point you're making is really astute, where it's like the Dodgers have a $170 million tax bill. Are they really going to shell out for a $500 million pitcher? That doesn't actually seem viable, honestly. Like, it feels like we've kind of top-ended at what they can possibly spend. Maybe I'm wrong, but just from the way it appears, that seems to be about where they're gonna end. And the way that the GM was talking in this most recent offseason, felt like they had arrived at the precipice of not wanting to pay anymore. If we just cycle through the teams quickly, Red Sox are not going to pay a pitcher like that. They don't pay more than one ace. They haven't in 15 years since whatever the new owner that everyone hates and wants him to sell their team. But since whenever he took over, the Yankees have two pitchers, like you said. The Mets are a complete question mark. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years with them. The Cubs
don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, literally 2 to 3 days. Who knows what's going to go down? So I think there isn't a clear landing spot, which actually defines the question, or just makes it a lot more interesting, where if the Tigers were to be able to position themselves, more strongly, then maybe it also benefits them to, keep this a slow roll sort of deal. Maybe even affect his value because of the injury, and keep teams off of wanting him if they can be like, well, he's not ready to come back. There could be some conspiracy shit go down here where they're trying to position for a better deal as well.
Yeah, definitely something I think that we have to keep an eye on with Scoobal, but because he obviously is like the best, arguably this is the best pitcher going. Maybe you want to say it's Skeens. Maybe you want to say Max Fried has been awesome for the Yankees of late. Jacob deGrom still having a pretty good team. Like, there's still a lot of guys up there, but I think most people would have Skeens 1 or 2. Switching over, though, to chaos with teams that fired their managers, and I guess this might work out. The Philadelphia Phillies and the Boston Red Sox both fired their managers, I think, like, back-to-back days. And what's funny is I really thought that Mendoza was going to get fired. It was going to be Correa, Thompson, Mendoza, back-to-back, but Mendoza still has a job. He might not by the time this comes out, so this whole might be invalid. I'm just going to go through both of their resumes really quickly. Rob Thompson, ironically, took over for Joe Girardi for the Phillies, and that season got them to the World Series. They won back-to-back NL East titles in 24 and 25. He has a winning record at .575 before he was fired. Correa, I forgot he won the World Series his rookie year, 2018, with a record 108 wins for the Boston Red Sox, defeated the Yankees and the Astros, both 100-win teams. That's got to be, we have to look that up. How many times did a team beat 2 100-win teams to the World Series?
Very limited, I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably not never, but it's probably has very rarely happened. Never won Manager of the Year. Finished second the year that he was his rookie year. And the Red Sox are currently under 500, like most of the AL. So, Lane, I'll give you the ball to run with because this was your pick. You said the Phillies were going to not be good, and so far they are not good. I will say, for caveat, they're second in the NL East. Like, with all that said, they are still, I think they are a wildcard team as we speak. But yeah, go ahead. What's really been plaguing the Phillies so far to start the year?
It's father time, it really is. It was one of those things where they have continually run it back very, very clearly. They were in on the Bo Bichette sweepstakes and didn't get him. And so they gave Real Muto more, another contract, and hasn't really worked. Hasn't really worked out. They've got Schwarber back on a huge DH deal. They've got a regressing, aging, shit talked by the GM, Bryce Harper. Trey Turner's still got like 5 years left on his massive deal. Castellanos left because of that whole, the beer drinking saga, and now he's down south in San Diego living it up, partying. It just, they were so close for so many years that it felt like they were like always like, this is the year. If we just keep the core together, this is the year. And at a certain point, you need a shakeup to keep the energy moving. And one thing the Phillies have really failed at is, this is a little more nitty gritty, but their drafting has been awful, where they have not been able to move guys through their farm system. I think it's just Stott and one other pitcher that have in the last like 8 years that have moved like quickly through their system. That is not good enough. You're not gonna, if you're not replacing and at your like, your replacement level players, if you're not upgrading from your minor league system, from your farm system, you're just not gonna be able to have a continued like period of dominance. And so it just became a really stale team. And they're a really streaky hitting team that relies almost exclusively on the long ball. And it's exemplified through Schwarber, where, he's kind of this talisman for what this era of the Phillies team will be, especially when you look back on it. It's 3 true outcomes. It's a walkout, it's a home run, or it's a walk, it's a home run or a strikeout. And this year it seems to be a strikeout.
Yeah, their struggles seem odd to me. I wasn't all the way with you on the fact that they would blow it up. Or they would be this bad. And again, we are speaking, it is still very early in the year. But they fired the manager for a reason. Okay. And this has to be the first time in history where the GM is the son of the manager in Philadelphia, which I guess that's reverse nepotism. And so, yeah, it's just, I think that they will ultimately regress to the mean. I think that their hitters are too good to not, like, to miss the playoffs would be, I think, insane. But I agree in the sense that this thing is kind of Reese's peak. Like, we compared them to the Yankees East, rather, I guess, South, if we want to be geographically correct. And how, like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, sometimes you just kind of run out of guys. Like, you run out of things, right? Like, that way they lost game 5, right, against the Dodgers, that breaks teams. Like, that's a really bad loss in a series that, I mean, maybe they could have won. I don't think a lot of people thought they were going to win, but you never know. Baseball's a janky sport. And so I think seeing them have this type of struggle has, one, warmed my heart in ways that you will never imagine. But it's been a testament to the idea of like, yeah, like they are kind of not really there for it. And it's surprising that Correa, who we'll get to in a minute, didn't want to take the job at all. Now, he seems like he's pretty comfortable in his skin. He seems like a lot of people like him. I would be shocked if he isn't managing next year if he didn't want to, because there will be other jobs opening. We have no idea if Don Mattingly will even keep this job, right, at the end of the season, if they're going to try and go with someone else, or let's say he does a good enough job where they want to bring him back. But I think teams like this, it's odd to see a baseball team age out almost like together in a way. And they are ultimately stuck because, as you just eloquently put it, they have a lot of guys making a lot of money and it's not just the money, it's the years. Like Harper still got years on his deal. You just talked about how many years Turner they got. They just re-signed Real Muto and Schwarber. And unless they are going to like Scoobal, who I wouldn't be shocked if they're like, screw it, we're doubling down. Dave Dabrowski, I don't know if he was there when Scoobal was there, but he was the GM formerly of the Tigers. Is that a guy that he wants to bring in? We'll see. But yeah, I think that this core of guys will still be good enough to get to the playoffs, but it might be a tough sledding to see them getting far in the postseason.
Totally. I think the sort of regress to the mean of them being a quality group could still easily happen. Watching them really explode from that is unlikely to me. I mean, they have like, Duran's been an incredible relief pitcher still. Like that guy, Christopher Sanchez, has been one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's like a Cy Young candidate. So like, it's not like they don't have pieces. Bryce is still hitting the ball well. I think he's got like almost 10 homers already. But maybe that's because the balls are juiced. Maybe that's another question we need to hop on.
So the balls again, back at it.
They're juicing them.
It was turbo bats, juicing the ball. Listen, just bring the steroids back. This is just make the whole thing more wholesome.
We might as well. Yeah. It's not that they can't get back to a competitive level. It's just, it feels like this is like the beginning of the end. And with those long-term contracts, it's going to be really hard to maneuver out of it. It's almost in a sort of like basketball apron level thing where they've kind of backed themselves into a corner here. And if it doesn't work, where do you go?
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of, like, where do you go? Like, where do the Red Sox go, right? Like, I was pretty shocked that they fired Cora. Granted, they have had some last place finishes under his tenure there, but I feel like everyone thinks he's one of the best managers in baseball. And also the fact that, and this was a team I had going to the World Series, so make sure you always bet with me with FanDuel. But the point is that
where's your FanDuel sponsorship?
Listen, Nina was just on here talking about that, and it's got to come. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got to come at some point. But the point about this is just that they have no power in basically a homer ballpark. They have no power. Like, that's a double waiting to happen every single time with the Green Monster there. And they rank 27th in baseball in home runs. As a team, they have 27 home runs. I think Aaron Judge by himself has 15. I do not want to mess up my brother's name in Chicago, the Japanese player. He's got like 14 by himself. Like
Suzuki. Oh no, Munataki?
Yes, him. Yeah. He's been balling. And mind you, the White Sox made a smart move. That never happens.
It's huge.
Like, huge move. And so, it's just hard for me to think because this guy has, obviously he was suspended because of, we know why. But he's the third most wins in franchise history with 622. And so I think that the Red Sox overall, this was an organizational question for them because they should be up there, maybe not competing with the Dodgers and the Mets, but they should be competing with the Yankees for players or the Astros. But they're kind of this mid-major thing now where they don't like re-sign their players for whatever reason. I do not know why they didn't re-sign Bregman. Like, just almost feeling like they kind of cheaped out. And so I'm curious about how you feel about not just them firing Cora, but just why they decided to become penny pinchers.
It's interesting. It doesn't really make sense to me, the flavor of decision making that they have been on in the last couple of years, where it doesn't actually really align. It's not like they aren't spending money. I think they're spending a top 10 payroll this year, like 260 mil. But it's like in connection to how big of a market they are, / how much revenue they're taking in, which is massive, they're extremely like penny pinching, basically what you're saying. So there's this cognitive dissonance between the fans being like, okay, come on, let's spend, them being like, we are spending, but they're not spending on like the top talent. They're spending at a sort of middle level, which, unless you get really lucky and one of those middle level guys explodes, is just not an effective way to build a baseball team.
And like, also, not to just cut you off, the Red Sox are 7th in spending at $256 million. However, a lot of that is money that they're paying Rafael Devers to play for the Giants because they split up his money when he was traded. So,
oh my God,
he's still the highest paid player on the team, I believe.
That's fucking insane.
Exactly.
More than Crochet? Yeah, that's crazy. Yes.
I will double check that last part, but yeah, go ahead.
It's just not. Yeah, it's like, they don't spend on Devers. They don't want to spend on Devers so that they can, have more money to maneuver, and then they go out and sign Ranger Suarez, who's been pitching all right, but he's a 30-year-old pitcher. So it's like, that could be an end at any moment when it's really like what they need is to be able to hit the ball. So it's like, it just doesn't really make sense. It's not a very like seemingly well-run organization. You know, the infield of Marcelo Meyer and Trevor Story and Durbin is just a fucking disaster
Who they
offensively right
wanted him
now.
to opt out, and he was like, "Watch this."
Yeah, yeah. It's just like, I don't know. You know, the Roman Anthony injury is a bummer. Like, there's just not really anything going their way either, and it's created a vibe that is just seemingly extremely toxic. You know, at a time when Boston sports is maybe at its most toxic ever. I don't know. It's just an absolute disaster in the mass hole right now. I don't know. Can they get out of this? What do you see? Is there a short-term plan, a long-term plan? What is happening?
Yeah, spend money. Like I don't see what the get Scoobal. Like I don't really know what's the holdup. Spend money. Like I don't. Again, I do not want to make this a whole salary cap conversation, but
We literally do it every time. We can't help ourselves.
But it goes to this notion that you're trying to tell me you're poor and you have all this money in your pocket. Like
Yeah.
you can't have it both ways. And what exactly? Again, fundamentally speaking, caps are socialism baked around patriotism. You are simply trying to convince me. Do you know how much money it takes to own a baseball team in 2026? And you tell me you can't spend money on players? Like, not everyone's saying that everyone's got to be Steve Cohen. Again, everyone is just terrified that this man will just blow his load on every single player. And that's the biggest fear. And as we've talked about before, just because you do that doesn't mean you're going to win a lot of baseball games, i.e., look at the Mets record. But you have to be able, you're the Red Sox, you have to be able to not just spend money, keep your players. Like the whole Devers situation was just like it was a mess. They messed it up from the beginning. And now they let go of Bregman. They didn't really spend a lot of free agency. Again, I thought that there was some type of plan there because I liked a lot of the young players on the team, but it just hasn't meshed very well. And I don't think there's going to be a major move that they made. Obviously, they got Sonny Gray and Ranger Suarez that we just talked about. And could they still get into the postseason? Yeah, of course. But currently, right now in the AL, I think your Mariners pose a big problem. Now, I don't know if they're also one of the teams under 500. Last thing I saw, it was like
they are.
Okay.
Yeah. The only teams I think over are the Yankees and the Rays.
So right now, as of we are recording, never mind. I thought the Braves had the best record in baseball. They don't. Yeah. So the Yankees are 26-12 as we're recording this. Then it's the Guardians at 20-19, and then it is the Athletics at 19-18. They're one game over 500. And so again, like we were talking about a team, while they are in last place, they're only 6 games under. So baseball is not a sprint, is a marathon. But if they don't add some quality bats, this is not going anywhere. And just the idea of them being one of the people, or just in general, like baseball pushing this idea of having a salary cap, it is what is going to make this sport lose fans, because you are justifying reasons for people to save money. That's all it is. Okay. You are having barriers for owners to not make mistakes on players. And I do not know if they get out of this in terms of like compete for a World Series or like, catch the Yankees. But until they have like a real come to Jesus moment with like how the functionality of their team is, then this is just going to be the way it's going to be.
Totally. I think part of this that's important is to really look at the division that you're in and the spending that happens within that division. So in the East, AL East, you have the Yankees right now and the Blue Jays that are spending more than you by like 50 to 60 million. That makes a huge difference. 50 million is an Alex Bregman, or like it's 2 good, okay starting pitchers. Like, that is the type of way they need to be looking at the way their payroll is working. If you're in the fucking Central, then sure, you can spend 260 million and be fine, but you're not. You're competing against the fucking Yankees and the Blue Jays that are spending at a much higher level. They also have to compete against the Rays, who are like the best run organization in baseball from an analytic point of view, where they will always find guys. They always will. They will always be able to rehabilitate pitching, and they will always find good young hitters that are being undervalued. So they need to be able to like spend to compensate that, and also spend against the 2 two of the current juggernauts in the payroll department and on the field going back to last year. That is a really important aspect that I think that they're just completely ignoring. They're probably just going to call this year, it feels like the vibe wise, the manager firing, the morale of the team, it seems like there's not really any left. And in a way that going before, Phillies, I don't feel like are packing it up, the Red Sox, I feel like might pack it up.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because we talk so much about analytics, and we'll get into the ABS system in a bit, but we talk so much about things that numbers compute, and we don't talk about vibes in baseball enough. And as stupid and as silly as these hats and all this other stuff is, like, sometimes vibes is what it is, and you fire the manager. And again, credit to the Phillies. I believe they're 8-3 or 8-4 since they fired Rob Thompson. So maybe that was the spark that they needed to get back on track. But it hasn't been the same for the Red Sox. Again, I don't think, like, Rob Thompson, to me, you can argue, I don't know if he's a good or a bad manager. He's not terrible, but I don't necessarily look at him as being this, like, culture setter or something being great. I just thought the Phillies were really talented. Cora is clearly one of the best managers in the sport. And the fact that they were like, we got to get this guy out of the building, to me shows that, like, they are going deeper and deeper and deeper into the numbers. And unfortunately, while numbers are good, you need guys to be able to hit, and hitting costs money. And if you're not willing to spend and you want to go this cheap route, you're going to get a B product. And that's just kind of the way it's shaken out for them recently. Please let me get your thoughts on the Mets before I give I guess this is what, monthly? How many times we do this podcast? Like monthly disappointment session. So please,
it's therapy.
I'd love to
That's
hear
therapy.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your conversation about how the Mets are right now.
It feels like the Mets in the last couple of years have just been like the roller coaster team, where you're riding extremely high or you are like hurtling towards the bottom. The end of last season, you're just last season it is literally like a classic like bell curve, basically going from beginning, rising, crescendo, just plummet to the bottom. And this year it seems like they are just continuing the slide that started at the end of last season when everything went to shit. I am pretty surprised that Mendoza's still there. It seems like they need a shakeup. Clearly, what they did by offloading, some of their older culture guys did not work. The influx, or the additions have not worked seemingly, and that just feels like a recipe for under 500 baseball. They have bright spots still. Obviously, McLean is a fucking baller. And whenever you have Soto on your
you just
team,
combined Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. No, that's even better. Whenever you have Soto, I can't be like, you're done. You've Soto on the door, but boy, it does not look good.
Okay, Lane. So I'm going to show you a quick story. So I got season tickets for the Mets this year, and by and large part, the reason why I did was because I've had some revelation over the last couple of years of like, I want to get closer to family, and life's not too long and everything like that. And my dad, one of the things that me and my dad like doing is watching baseball. So I got tickets opening day. I brought one of my friends. Me and my dad are going to go by the time you guys heard this podcast. Opening day was the most electric I've ever felt at Citi Field. They got Scoobal out there in like an inning. He didn't even go full inning. I'm high-fiving random drunk chicks standing next to me. My boy, who has the heaviest hands that you ever meet in your life, is slapping my hand. I feel like it's breaking every single time. We're going nuts. I'm like, this is Nirvana. We about to have a great season. And then in typical Mets fashion, I've been kicked in the nuts ever since that one moment. Lane, do you know what their record is since July 1st of 2025?
No, I'm going to guess they have like 40 wins, something in the 40s.
They're 46-63.
Yeah.
That's over 100 games. They are so dog shit. And it's just like Steve Cohen, I think, for his accolades, him spending money on the team. Because the conversation we just had about the Red Sox, that was essentially the conversation we were having about the Mets for 15 years with the Wilpons. Not only has he spent money on the team, he spent money in the area. They're building a casino over there. They're building a soccer stadium in that same area. It is going to become a sports/gambling multi-complex. And I think by and large part, he has been able to skate on the fact that he is not the Wilpons. That is probably the number one thing I think that Steve Cohen has gotten credit for is he's not cheap. He's put money into the team. When I tell you that literally like everything that he has done on the field with David Stearns has been not worked, just not fucking worked. Like Kodai Senga, terrible. You gave Devin Williams $50 fucking million. He can't pitch here. I've seen players. Randy Johnson couldn't pitch here. Randy Johnson is one of the greatest pitchers of all time. He can't play here. Some guys you have to know if they got the stones to play here. You saw that and decided, you know what? Let me give this guy more money. And then your backup plan was to sign his backup in Luke Weaver. And now Luke Weaver is just as bad. They got rid of Pete, Nimmo, Diaz, and Jeff McNeil. I already seen Jeff McNeil come back to Citi Field and get like 3 hits and sweep the Mets. Nimmo doesn't come back at all, but they go down to Texas to play them. And Pete's coming back in September, and I already can imagine what that's even going to look like. The man doesn't give a fuck about vibes. And that's the reason why I can't stand him. Like, everything is just in the numbers, and everything is just so analytical. And it's like, dog, he almost didn't get Juan Soto. Like, we go back to this a lot. Like, he wasn't the reason Juan Soto's on the team. The only reason, to answer your actual question, why is Mendoza there, is because Stearns knows that it's his ass next. And so he hired Mendoza. So he is going to ride this puppy out until it becomes untenable with Mendoza. He's lucky. I think it's the best. The best thing that happened to the New York Mets this year are the New York Knicks. They win in basketball games. They in the playoffs. No one's really talking about the Mets. But brother, when the moment the Knicks stop playing basketball, they are going to be on your ass. Okay? I do not know if they could turn it around because, again, that's 100-game sample size of you being terrible. So I can't fully buy in. Do I think the Mets have a lot of, like, talent, per se? Yeah. They got a bunch of 7 to 8, 9 hitters in their lineup. Brett Beatty, Luis Robert Jr., Alvarez, Bobichet's been, like, kind of good. He's kind of got it going, which I wasn't ever worried about it, but he got off to a slow start, which isn't surprising. Lindor is going to be out for 2 months with a calf injury, and then Soto just got back. It is such a poorly constructed lineup that it just makes you go, why the fuck are you here? And when you charge people the amount of money that you do, and when Stearns goes, or not, sorry, when Cohen is now talking to fans and talking about green shoots, I'm like, yo, you ever listen to like Drake or someone rap and they be rapping so rich you don't know what they talking about? That's how he tweets. I'm like, dog, I don't make that kind of bread. What are you talking about? And you're not helping yourself. And so I've let go. I've let God. However this team goes, they got it. They got it, my G. I can't be invested because I'm already getting myself mad, and it's May. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so the one thing I know, I feel like you would know this better than most. There's one thing to be like, have a decent baseball team and the dog fight. But when you got a dog shit team, dog, those are some long days, man. Those are some long summer days. And there's not enough prospects in the world for you to call up, for you to get people excited about it. For a team that, again, as I look at this, has the second highest payroll in baseball. So yeah. They're not even doing they're not even doing the money ball shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not even like they got cheap dudes out there running around. All these guys are paid. Bobichet is paid. Luis Roberts is paid. Like, god damn, fucking ass.
I feel your pain is emanating. You know, the pain is emanating.
Is
it is. But I also feel that the apathy from heartbreak here. Have to check out at a certain degree with this team. What's interesting to me is that maybe it's just the quality of the name that they have on their team. Maybe that is still not letting me be like, I'm counting this Mets team out. I'm going to be honest. The only Mets baseball I've watched is watching them lose to the Cubs. So
that warms my heart that you saw that.
Yeah.
That.
See,
that was during
great.
their 12-game losing streak. 12 straight games.
Yeah. I think there was a game in there in which the Cubs won 1-0.
Oh,
and
it was the last game.
It was one of the most shit games I've ever watched. It might be the name brand value thing happening here where they've spent money. And so my brain is like, these players should be good. Marcus Semien used to be an MVP candidate.
To be fair, Simeon's been playing better. To be fair.
Definitely.
Granted, they beat up on the fucking Rockies, but sure.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They, so maybe it's still that. And maybe it's because I know this team because, they've been to the playoffs and I for some reason still believe in Mark Vientos to be a hitter. Maybe that's just fool's gold. As far as the pitching goes, it seems like they have the makings of a starting lineup with Peralta, Holmes, McLean, and Scott, right?
And mind you, Holmes has been their best pitcher.
Yeah.
The only thing David Stearns got right was signing him.
Yeah.
The only Yankees pitcher that he got right in signing away.
So, it feels like there's a way for them to fix that aspect. And maybe that's not even, literally not what they need to be fixing. Maybe it's all bullpen. Starting pitching seems to be pretty fine. Pitching and, bullpen pitching and hitting. I don't want to be like they're done because I for some reason am holding on to the maybe just the possibility of Soto and Lindor, dragging this team to the playoffs. But it feels so hard right now. It feels so hard to get back to that. And maybe the right move is to switch up with Mendoza. I think what you're pointing out that if it will be his ass if he lets go of Mendoza next. So you're probably right that he's going to hold on as long as possible.
And the thing is, they fired his whole coaching staff.
Yeah.
So it's like he got all these guys, everyone else on the team outside of Lindor, he got. I guess you could argue Soto, but like everyone else that's on the team, again, except for Lindor, was here after Stearns has been here. Every single guy. All the pitchers. And the thing that's so frustrating is that from like an organizational standpoint, I think that they are actually good. Their pitching has a lot of depth. A lot of depth in their pitching, right? There are two guys, Jonathan, who isn't pitching right now, or he is pitching, he's not pitching well. But Christian Scott, the guy that called up, he was their pitcher a couple years ago, but he had Tommy John surgery. He's been decent. Like, he's a pretty decent pitcher, right? Like you said, the pitching's not the problem. They can't fucking hit, And it's like, it's just a team. And I don't know, maybe it is one of those things where it's like, you kind of got to let it marinate. But like, one of my biggest problems is you gave Jorge Polanco a 2-year deal for $20 million and let Pete Alonso go. And at least the one thing I know Pete Alonso does is play. You know what I know about Jorge Polanco? He doesn't. He's hurt all the time. All the time. He's hurt now. And so, again, if you just want to give Vientos the job, I could have gripes about that, but I can at least understand. You didn't want him to be your first baseman. That's why you got Polanco. And that's why it was him, and then Beatty's in there. Then Beatty's got to play right field. And it's just like, because then they got to play Bench, who is playing better, but Bench has to play sometimes because Luis Roberts can't play back-to-back games. It's like so maddening. It's like they have to keep making, like they're just plugging hole after hole after hole after hole after hole, man. It's like, and that's the thing. The ultimate frustration is not the slow start. It's really not that. When you have that slow start and you fucking collapse last year and you missed the playoffs by a game against the Reds, that's the problem. You just can't have a team have that long a bad baseball. This has been a bad baseball team for a really long time. Okay, we're done. I'm good. I need to get that out of my system. I'm just
do you feel lighter? Do you feel lighter or do you feel worse?
I feel pissed that I spent the money I did on season tickets. That's what I feel now.
I bet. Where are your tickets? Where are your tickets?
Oh, I've got seats. I'm in the 300s. I sat
Nice.
there. I've been to 2 games. By the time you hear
Yeah.
this, I would have been now to 4 games. But opening day, it was dope because they put us in. I didn't sit in my seats. They gave us different seats, but it was good. I was in the 100s. I was like right behind the Apple. I don't know if you saw opening day. There was a dead pigeon.
Yeah.
And Ben just like didn't touch it, and then they finally went and grabbed it, and I was like, "Oh, that's fucking crazy."
Yeah.
But no, good seats. I haven't been there yet when it's been warm. Opening day was warm. The last time I went was cold. But listen, man, I'm going to Yankees Mets on Friday. By the time you guys are listening to this, so hopefully the Knicks are still playing. That's all I.
They will be. Do you need 5 minutes on the Knicks right now to feel better? When they fucking waxed the 76ers in the last 2 games?
I mean, by the time this comes out, they could be in the conference finals. I mean, I'll give my little piece. I've spoken about this already. I misread this series completely. I had Knicks in 7, and I just overestimated Embiid, man. Like, he's just, and the thing is like, I don't know, again, no idea if he's going to play. I have no idea if OJ Anunoby's going to play. I hope he doesn't. I hope Embiid plays. I really do. He makes it so easy to score. My biggest thing going into that series was I know the Knicks can score on this team because Embiid can't move. And with all the movement that the Knicks do, he's just sitting there all the time.
Totally. They pull him into every action with Brunson, and it's just like right around him. Yeah.
My only fear was the fouls from Cat, I guess, generally for the team, and keeping Maxey contained. Now, to their credit, to this point, Maxey has not gone off in either game that they have played. This man is also, I do not believe, can play 48 minutes every single game. Now, maybe he did, and it's 2-2, and I'm sweating out a game 5 somewhere. But I do not think that this will have any effects. My biggest concern is just, I need the Cavs to win some games, please. Because if the Knicks are going to go to the finals, they need OG Anunoby to be healthy. This guy's been one of the best players in the playoffs. This guy's fucking great, and he has to play for them to beat the Pistons. And if he doesn't play, they're not going to beat the Pistons. But we'll see, And of course, because I said that, the Sixers have just won 3 straight games. That is who I am. Can we talk about ABS for a second?
Yeah, let's do it.
How are you feeling about it? Like, how's the overall, like, I would say just more for a viewership standpoint, like, how has this kind of been for you watching it?
I think it's, from a viewership only standpoint, it's fucking electric. It's like when you're watching tennis and it's just like, it happens so fast, which is amazing. It's very quick. It's very clear whether it's a ball or a strike. They make it very clear to you. So from an audience watching perspective, you could have half an eye on the TV and know what happened. The signal is pretty funny. The tap on the head, I like that. I like all of it from a like a drama / viewership perspective. I think that it's probably helpful for the game as a whole, but I will really dislike it if it affects my team in a bad way in an important game. I'm going to lose my mind, which is completely the fan monkey brain in me. But I know I can already feel it in that little seed that's been planted. So I'm worried about that. But in general, watching it, I think it's actually pretty sick.
Yeah, that kind of happened in the game for the Mets against the Diamondbacks, where they had a rally going, and I forgot who was up, but someone was up, and it was 3-2 count. No, sorry, it was a 2-2 count, and they thought it was a ball, tapped on it, ended up being a strikeout, and the Diamondbacks got out of the inning, and they ended up winning the game because of it.
Yeah.
So just like you, I was like, damn, that was just one of those things. But ultimately, I think it's been a great success. Like you, I think the speed is the biggest thing. It is up, you look, it's done. I'm still curious to see the competitive advantage, like who's going to be able to find that, like, this is how we use ABS to give ourselves a real advantage, way we only limit it. And I think maybe we only see that come postseason time because most fans would be able to lock in more on it. But yeah, I think this is one of the things that I will say overall, and I will give Rob Manfred a lot of credit because we like to shit on commissioners all the time. I think he has done a great job at getting baseball back into the national conscience, like with the bigger bases, the clock, ABS. I think that the not random call ups in September where there was like, we got 80-man roster now. I think all those things have been truly outstanding. And I think the overall fan experience has been great. And I think baseball is in such a better place. And as someone who wouldn't say I am a NBA guy, but I like the NBA more than I like baseball. But to me, it is now neck and neck as far as who's the second sport in this country. Baseball and basketball will always deal with the inventory problem where there's so many games. A lot of these games don't really matter. That's always just going to be a problem. But I think baseball has done a better job of adjusting to their games played situation versus the NBA, because baseball has almost made all of their games in the regular season mean like more fun per se, like it is more enjoyable to watch the games versus I think the NBA, it just feels like it's a slog. Like, so, just get me to the playoffs, get me to the playoffs, get me to the playoffs kind of thing. And listen, I have a lot of thoughts on the NBA on what they should do for that, as far as how many teams make the playoffs, rewards for winning your conference, things like that. But yeah, that is still pretty far away.
I think one thing that's interesting between the NBA season and the MLB season, the regular season, and then in comparison to the playoffs, is that watching NBA playoff basketball almost feels like a different sport. Whereas,
because it is.
Yeah, because it is. Because it's officiated differently, and it's just basically like, I don't know, it just basically is a different sport. Whereas the MLB, I think really smartly has leaned into like what you said, where it's more about creating a good time during the regular season. But when you watch a playoff baseball game, it's the exact same product, except it's just the emotions are heightened. Do you know what I mean? And that, I think, is a really easy way to buy in as a fan for the regular season, because it's like, well, I can throw a baseball game on and have a couple of hours, but there's 160 of these and they go pretty quick now, so it's not that big of a deal, and I'll catch another one tomorrow. And in basketball, it's like, well, the product is so much better in the playoffs, and it's kind of starting to feel like none of this matters, and a lot of the stars are injured all the time, and I'm not really sure why we're playing 82 games. And baseball has solved those problems in its own way, that its own variety of problems, whereas the NBA has kind of failed to do that so far.
Exactly. Well, thanks for all the time for you guys listening. That is Lane Riordan. Please let him know where they can find you and your Substack, as he is still out there doing that good writing for the good people of the world.
You can just find me at Lane Riordan, Riordan. I write about sports, movies, TV, books, everything.
Yes. And make sure you guys give us a 5-star rating. Thank you guys again for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. If you do not give us a 5-star rating, I have to assume that you are going to think that Trump will keep us safe in the COVID remix. Thank you guys again for listening. Check you guys out later.